Imagine a situation. It's 3 in the morning, the power is out, and you stand in the kitchen with a flashlight, realizing your $1,000 survival gear is useless because you forgot a 20-cent item that could save your life. Sounds dramatic? In Texas last month, a prepared man named
Can't
Mike
believe I
spent
forgot the camera.
$15,000 on high-quality gear but found himself utterly helpless during a week-long power outage because he overlooked the basics. Meanwhile, his neighbor Sarah, having spent less than $50 at the store, not only survived but also found ways to improve her situation. Today, I am going to reveal a dirty little secret that survival gear companies don't want you to know. Things that can be decisive between life and death are not those advertised through luxurious marketing campaigns. They are in plain sight, worth mere pennies, and completely ignored by 90% of the prepared people. This is the harsh truth about the preparation that no one talks about. Our brains have been washed. The survival industry convinced us that we need to spend all our savings on titanium technology and military gear. They created a myth that high cost is equivalent to effectiveness. But here is what happened when Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans in 2005. The people who survived the longest did not have the most expensive gear. They stocked up on simple everyday items that cost mere pennies. These items were so basic that most prepared people simply overlooked them in the store. I have been studying survival psychology for over 10 years and found something shocking. There is an inverse relationship between how much people spend on gear and how prepared they actually are. The more money someone invests in expensive equipment, the less likely they are to consider the fundamental principles that can truly save lives. Why does this happen? Because expensive gear creates an illusion of readiness, even when it is not the case. It's like how buying a gym membership makes you feel fit, even though you never work out. The gear gives us a false sense of confidence while we remain dangerously vulnerable. Before we delve into the topic, let me explain why you should listen to me, rather than just switch to another video about preparedness that tries to sell you an expensive emergency evacuation bag. For the last 15 years, I have studied real survival scenarios, not Hollywood fabrications, but documented cases where people found themselves in life and death situations. I analyzed over 500 emergency scenarios, from natural disasters to economic crises, and spoke with survivors from every major crisis of the last 2 decades. What I discovered changed everything I thought about survival preparedness. The things that constantly saved lives were not those highlighted in survival magazines. They were simple, cheap, everyday items that most people already had at home but did not recognize as survival tools. This research led me to develop a survival system that I call Dollar Store Survival. It is a preparation method focused on maximum efficiency at minimal cost. And today, I share with you the complete list. But here is what will surprise you. One of these items is so powerful that it can make the crucial difference between freezing to death and a comfortable night. Moreover, it costs less than a cup of coffee. Another item that you probably throw away every week can provide you with clean drinking water for several months. Most people are not even aware of the survival potential that is hidden in plain sight. They're too busy scrolling through tactical gear websites to notice that the kitchen's junk drawer contains more vital resources than most emergency kits. That expensive water filtration system you are looking at has a 25-cent alternative that works just as well, and I will show you how to use it. I could just provide you with a boring list of items like many other survival channels do, but that's not how your brain works, and that's not how survival works. The thing is, in a real emergency, you don't need a list. You need understanding. You must know not only what to stock up on, but also why these items are important, how to use them in ways most people never consider, and where to find them when stores are empty. Moreover, you need to understand the psychology associated with survival situations. Because here is what no one will tell you. The greatest threat to your survival is not a lack of food or water, but making the wrong decisions under stress, as you have not prepared your mind along with your supplies. I will guide you through each item using real scenarios, practical examples, and psychological principles that distinguish survivors from victims. But before we move on to specific items, I need to discuss something that is likely troubling you right now. You might be thinking, this sounds great, but how can I be sure I have everything I need? How do I organize this? How can I make sure I don't miss something key? That's why I created the Stocking Challenge. It's not just another preparedness course. This is a complete system that will take you from scattered and expensive items to a scientifically grounded survival stock that really works. The coal will guide you through each category of necessary items, show you where to find them cheaply, and provide you with psychological preparation for their effective use under pressure. Plus, you will join a community of smart preparers who focus on efficiency rather than outward shine. I will explain more about this at the end, but if you want to secure your place now, just check the link in the description. Now let's dive into these vital items that cost almost nothing. Chapter 1. Water and hydration. Let's start with the most critically important need for survival: water. You can live 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. Nevertheless, most people spend hundreds of rubles on expensive filtration systems, ignoring simple items that can solve water problems for pennies. The first is coffee filters, a water filter for 2 kopecks. Here is what will surprise you. A standard coffee filter can remove 99% of harmful bacteria and parasites from water. I'm not joking. During the cholera outbreak in Haiti in 2010, humanitarian workers used coffee filters to pre-clean contaminated water, saving thousands of lives. But what most people overlook is that coffee filters are not just for filtering. In survival conditions, they become multifunctional tools. Need a tinder for starting a fire? A coffee filter soaked in Vaseline burns for 15 minutes. Need to filter debris from motor oil for a lamp? Coffee filter. Need emergency toilet paper? You get the idea. I have a box of 200 coffee filters in my supplies. The total cost is $3. The potential value is immeasurable. Secondly, chlorine tablets, the best backup water purification system. But this is where many prepared people make a big mistake. They buy expensive water purification tablets for $2 each, while the same effect can be achieved with pool shock treatment tablets that cost $5 for a pack. Shock tablets contain calcium hypochlorite, which is concentrated chlorine. 1 pound of shock tablets can purify 10,000 gallons of water. Compare this to those expensive tablets that purify only 50 gallons for the same price. But here is an important point. You must know the exact proportions for mixing, otherwise you could be poisoned. It's 1 teaspoon per gallon of drinking water, and you need to wait 30 minutes before consumption. Write this formula down in a safe place. It could save your life. And thirdly, large garbage bags, your emergency water storage system. This is ingenious and is based on how people survived during Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. When the water supply systems failed, it was not those with expensive water tanks who survived, but those who knew this trick. A sturdy garbage bag can hold 30 to 50 gallons of water if properly supported. You line a cardboard box or wooden crate with the bag, fill it up, and you have a water reserve for pennies compared to commercial tanks. But here's an advanced method. You can create a gravity-fed water supply system by making small holes in the bottom corner and controlling the flow with a simple clothespin. Instant shower, instant tap, instant irrigation system. Chapter 2. Fire and heat. Fire is not just for cooking. This is a question of survival psychology. Nothing destroys morale like cold and dampness without the possibility of warming up. And nothing boosts confidence like the ability to start a fire using everyday items. The first is steel wool and batteries. 32 is a means to ignite fire. This method is so effective that it is even frightening. Take a 9-volt battery, touch it to fine steel wool, and you will get a flame in just a few seconds. The steel wool acts like thousands of tiny wires that instantly heat up under the influence of electric current. That's why this method is better than expensive fire starters. Steel wool works even in wet weather, in strong winds, and when hands tremble from cold or adrenaline. During the freeze in Texas in 2021, people used this method to light fires in their fireplaces when their expensive fire starting kits failed them. But here's a professional tip. Don't use all the steel wool at once. Spread it in a thin layer. You need the maximum surface area for contact with electric current. Always have dry fuel on hand, as this method creates intense heat but burns quickly. The second method is Vaseline and cotton balls. This is the perfect time-burning extender. This combination creates an excellent fire starter, but most people do it wrong. They completely soak the cotton ball in petroleum jelly, which actually makes it harder to ignite. Here's the correct method. Just lightly coat the outside, leaving the inner cotton dry and fluffy. When you light it, the internal cotton ignites instantly, and the Vaseline ensures a long burn of up to 20 minutes. This time is enough to ignite even the dampest wood. I prepare these balls in batches of 50 and store them in old film containers or pill bottles. The total cost of 50 fire starters is about $2, while expensive fire cubes in tourist shops cost $15 for 10. The third method is candles. This is the most underrated survival tool. This will forever change your perception of candles. One tea candle can raise the temperature in a small enclosed space by 10 to 15 degrees. During a power outage, clever people create candle heaters by placing several candles under an inverted clay pot. But the candles do more than just provide warmth and light. The psychological effect is immense. People have gathered around fire for 400,000 years. It is literally embedded in our DNA to feel safe near fire. In survival situations, this psychological uplift can be the deciding factor between giving up and continuing the fight. Stock up on inexpensive candles from the stores. They burn just as long as the expensive ones, and you'll have the opportunity to keep them in large quantities. Chapter 3. Tools and Repairs. Here, most prepared people make serious mistakes. They focus on multifunctional tools and tactical gear, ignoring the simple things that actually solve problems in real emergencies. The first tool is duct tape, the universal problem solver. Everyone knows that duct tape is useful, but most people do not realize how powerful it is. During Hurricane Andrew in 1992, duct tape literally saved lives. People used it to seal windows, repair roofs, and even create emergency tourniquets. But here is an advanced application that most people never consider. Duct tape can create airtight seals. In the event of a chemical hazard or during forest fires, you can seal a room by sticking plastic film over the windows and doors. The tape creates positive pressure that prevents contaminated air from entering. Here is my advice on using duct tape, which I learned from an emergency response expert. Do not store it in one large roll. It's better to cut the strips in advance and stick them onto wax paper, then roll them up. In an emergency, you can instantly grab the pre-cut pieces instead of struggling with a large roll when you're wearing gloves or working in the dark. The second piece of advice is cable ties. These unbreakable fasteners are stronger than rope, more reliable than screws, and cheaper than both. I have seen them hold tarps in 70-mile-an-hour winds and secure the frames of shelters that lasted for months. But here is the technique that distinguishes beginners from professionals. You can connect ties to each other, creating any necessary length. They can become emergency handcuffs, gear attachments, and even structural support. The main thing is to buy quality ties, not cheap ones that break. Look for ties made of 60th level nylon and with ultraviolet protection. A pack of 100 good ties costs $5 and can solve problems that would require spending hundreds of dollars on traditional fasteners. The third item is super glue, an instant solution for repairs. Super glue is not only needed for fixing broken items, but also for helping people. Medics have used cyanoacrylate, super glue, to close wounds since the Vietnam War. However, the real value for survival lies in repairs. Super glue can instantly bond plastic, rubber, metal, and fabric. During the tornado in Joplin in 2011, survivors used super glue to repair torn tarps, broken tools, and damaged equipment. Items that are usually thrown away became functional again. Here's a storage tip that many overlook. Super glue has a short shelf life after opening. It's better to buy small disposable tubes than large bottles. They cost a bit more per ounce, but they won't dry out, and you can take exactly as much as you need with no waste. The fourth point is food and cooking. Preparing food in survival conditions does not imply gourmet dishes. The main thing is to maintain nutrition and morale with minimal resources. The best products for this cannot be found in tourist shops. The first item is aluminum foil, a universal cooking surface. Durable aluminum foil is like a portable kitchen. You can create cooking surfaces that reflect heat, concentrators, and containers for food storage. But most people use it incorrectly in survival conditions. Here is a technique that is crucial. Pack everything in 2 layers. A single layer of foil tiers easily and quickly loses heat. Double packaging creates an insulating layer that makes cooking more efficient and prevents food from burning. A more complex application is creating a solar oven from reflectors. The angle of the foil-covered cardboard allows sunlight to be focused in a black container, enabling temperatures above 200 degrees without fuel. This technique has been used in disaster zones around the world when cooking fuel runs out. The second point is salt. This is the most important preservative in medicine. Salt is probably the most underrated item for preparation on the planet. Salt not only allows food to be preserved indefinitely without refrigeration, but it also has medical uses that most people don't even think about. A saline solution with the correct concentration is identical to a physiological solution. It can clean wounds, rinse eyes, and even be used in emergencies as an intravenous infusion. During cholera outbreaks, oral rehydration using salt and sugar saved millions of lives. But here is a preservation method that can save your life. Meat salted with salt can be stored for years without refrigeration if done correctly. The key point is the correct ratio of salt to meat, about 3% by weight, and understanding the salting process. Stock up on regular salt, not iodized or flavored. Pure salt never spoils and has an unlimited shelf life when stored properly. The third item is instant coffee and tea bags. Psychological survival tools. This may seem insignificant, but listen. During major disasters, survivors report that small comforts greatly improve their mental state. A hot cup of coffee or tea in a crisis situation brings not only caffeine, but also hope. There is a medical aspect as well. Caffeine is a mild stimulant that can help with hypothermia. Tea contains antioxidants that support immune function when the body is under stress. Especially green tea has antibacterial properties that can help prevent diseases. The main thing is to buy soluble varieties that do not require special equipment. They can be prepared using any source of hot water and can be stored indefinitely without refrigeration. Chapter 5. First Aid and Hygiene. Medical emergencies can quickly become life-threatening if professional help is unavailable. Life-saving items are not exotic medical supplies. They are ordinary products used in unusual ways. The first item is honey, a natural antibiotic. Raw honey is literally liquid medicine. It has natural antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral properties. Hospitals still use medical honey to treat wounds that do not respond to traditional antibiotics. But what most people don't know is that honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey that is still perfectly edible. In survival situations, honey provides instant energy, wound healing, and cough suppression all in one jar. It is important to use it correctly. For treating wounds, use raw honey instead of processed. Apply it directly to clean wounds and cover with clean cloth. For cough and sore throat, take 1 tablespoon as needed. For energy, mix with water for an instant sports drink. The second item is baking soda, a multifunctional agent. Baking soda is like a pharmacy in a box. It neutralizes acid, reduces inflammation, and can even be used as an emergency toothpaste and deodorant. During the flu pandemic of 1918, baking soda was used to treat symptoms when real medicine was unavailable. Here is a medical application that could save your life. Baking soda can neutralize stomach acid and treat severe heartburn or acid poisoning. Mix 1 teaspoon with water and drink slowly. It is also effective for treating bee stings and minor burns. However, the main value for survival lies not in sanitation. Baking soda kills odors and bacteria, making it indispensable for personal hygiene when soap and water are unavailable. A small package costs $1 and has many uses. The third point, women's hygiene products are versatile first aid supplies. This may seem strange, but stay with me. Women's hygiene products are among the most versatile first aid supplies ever created. They are sterile, absorb moisture, and are designed to handle blood, making them ideal for wound care. Tampons can cover wounds and control bleeding. Pads are suitable for large abrasions and burns. Both products are individually packaged and sterile, which cannot be said for most homemade bandages. Military medics have been using these methods for decades because they work better than traditional bandages in many situations. Moreover, they are cheaper and available everywhere. Chapter 6. Communication and Signals. When everything collapses, your ability to signal for help or communicate with those around you becomes critically important. The best signaling devices are not high-tech gadgets. They are simple things that work when complex systems fail. The first is mirrors. Devices for long-distance communication. A small mirror can be seen from up to 100 miles under favorable conditions. During World War II, pilots used mirror signals for communication over long distances when radio communication failed. The method is simple, but requires practice. The main thing is to understand the angles. You reflect sunlight towards your target by holding the mirror close to your eye and aligning the reflection with the target. By blinking 3 times, you send a universal distress signal. But mirrors have other survival uses. They can start a fire by focusing sunlight. They assist with personal hygiene and medical care and can also be used to inspect corners or narrow spaces. The second is whistles. The sound carries far. The human voice can be heard at about 100 yards in good conditions. A quality whistle can be heard from over a mile away. It makes the difference between being found and going unnoticed by rescue teams. But not all whistles are equal. Plastic ones can freeze or crack. Metal ones can stick to lips in cold weather. The best survival whistles are made from special materials and designed for extreme conditions. The signaling protocol is also important. 3 short whistles, a pause, then repeat. This is an internationally recognized distress signal that cannot be confused with ordinary noise. The third is markers, emergency communication tools. Markers can write on any surface in any weather and remain visible for many years. In disaster zones, survivors use markers to leave messages for rescue teams and loved ones. But here is an advanced method. Markers can create bright signals on unexpected surfaces. Use stones, trees, or buildings to mark your path or indicate your state. Water-repellent inks are clearly visible from the air. Stock up on bright colors. Red, orange, and yellow are the most noticeable from above. Black and blue are better suited for detailed messages and records. Chapter 7. Psychological Survival Tools. This section may be the most important, but it is often completely ignored by many training materials. Physical survival is only half the battle. Psychological survival determines who surrenders and who continues to fight. The former involves playing cards and games, tools for maintaining morale. Boredom and despair take more lives in survival conditions than most physical threats. When you are stuck in a shelter for days or weeks, entertainment is not a luxury, but a necessity for mental health. Playing cards are perfect because they are compact, durable, and offer limitless opportunities for fun. You can play hundreds of different games, use them for educational activities with children, and even apply them for practical purposes, such as starting a fire or leaving markers on a path. But the real value lies in the social aspect. Games unite people, reduce stress, and support group cohesion. In family survival situations, this can be a decisive factor between cooperation and collapse. The second is journals and pens, tools for psychological processing. Writing is one of the most effective ways to process trauma and maintain clarity of mind in survival conditions. Keeping a journal helps track important information, solve problems, and preserve hope. But there is also a medical component. Research shows that people who write about traumatic events recover faster and have better long-term mental health outcomes. In survival situations, this is not just helpful, it can save lives. The main thing is to choose materials that are suitable for any conditions. Water-repellent handles and weather-resistant paper allow for writing even in harsh conditions. The third is photographs of loved ones. This may seem sentimental, but psychological studies confirm their importance. Visual reminders of loved ones strengthen determination and tolerance to pain. They literally help you overcome situations that could otherwise break you. In survival psychology, such photographs are called anchors of motivation, specific reminders of why one must survive. They are particularly important in situations of solitary survival, where isolation becomes a serious threat. Keep photographs in waterproof containers and ensure they are easily accessible when morale is low. Now I have shared with you items that can literally save your life. And the total cost of everything mentioned is probably less than what most people spend on a single tactical flashlight. But what troubles me is this: information without action is useless. I can give you the best knowledge about survival in the world, but if you do not implement it systematically, you will still remain vulnerable when the crisis comes. This is the problem with most preparedness advice. They are scattered, overloaded with information, and cannot be properly implemented. You watch a dozen videos on a platform, bookmark 50 articles, and end up even more confused than at the start. You don't need more information, you need a system. A step-by-step plan is needed to transition from the current state to real readiness without significant costs and schedule overload. You need support, community, and expert advice to avoid missing important elements and dangerous mistakes. That is why I created a challenge for stock creation. This is not just another training course that dumps information on you and wishes you luck. This is a complete transformation system that will guide you through all aspects of practical preparation, from survival psychology to specific brands and sources for every necessary item. This is what makes the challenge of stockpiling unique. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, You receive one specific task for the week. Each task builds on the previous one, creating a complete training system that truly works in emergency situations. You will learn in which stores I find these items at the lowest prices, which brands work best in stressful conditions, and storage methods that keep everything fresh and accessible for many years. But most importantly, you will join a community of smart people who share your values. People who focus on efficiency rather than showiness understand that true preparation does not require large expenses and support each other in building genuine resilience. A new registration period will soon open, and spots are limited. If you want to stop worrying about whether you are really ready and start knowing that you can handle any difficulties, pay attention to the link in the description below. But regardless of whether you accept the challenge or not, do not let this information go to waste. Choose 3 items from today's list and purchase them this week. Not next month, not when you have more time. This week, start with water filtration, building a fire, and basic first aid. These 3 categories cover your most urgent survival needs and cost less than $20 in total. If this video opened your eyes to the power of simple and accessible survival preparation methods, press the like button and share it with those who need to see it. The more people understand these principles, the more resilient our communities will become. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications turned on, because next week, I will reveal the most common mistake that 90% of people who store food make, and it's not what you think. Leave a comment below and let me know which item surprised you the most, or share your own inexpensive survival item that I didn't mention. I read every comment and often include the best suggestions in future videos. Remember, true preparation is not about spending the most money. It's about understanding what really works when everything else fails. Stay ready, be smart, and see you next time.